It hits them at their core. When the narcissist discovers you were more than just a supply. Have you ever felt like you were being used and discarded by someone, only to realize that your value wasn't fully understood by the person who did this to you? Imagine being the object of someone's obsession and manipulation, only to have them realize that you are far more than just the source of their supply. The narcissist's world revolves around control, admiration, and manipulation, but when they discover that their supply is more than just a tool for their gratification, it's a wake-up call that hits them deep. It shakes their foundation and forces them to face something they cannot easily ignore. For the narcissist, this revelation is more than just a shock, it's a crisis. In this video, we will dive deep into what happens when a narcissist realizes that their source of validation is more than just a fleeting object to be used. When they come to terms with the fact that you have your own value, your own power, and your own life, it can throw them into a whirlwind of confusion, anger, and fear. But what exactly triggers this revelation, and how does it affect the dynamics between you and the narcissist? Stick around until the end, because you're about to gain insights into the mind of a narcissist and understand how this crucial moment in your relationship with them can be a turning point. But before we dive deeper into the psychology of narcissists and their need for supply, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might benefit from understanding this complex dynamic. Let's explore the truth together, shall we? If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, then you're no stranger to the all-consuming nature of their needs. Everything revolves around them. Every conversation, every interaction, every moment is ultimately about fulfilling their desires, catering to their whims, and validating their sense of importance. Narcissists are like emotional parasites, draining the energy of everyone around them to feed their insatiable need for attention, admiration, and control. Their world is built on manipulating others into providing them with a constant stream of positive reinforcement, making you feel like you're in an endless loop of giving while they take. As long as you are in their orbit, you become part of this toxic cycle, serving as a source of emotional supply for them. Whether that supply comes in the form of admiration, affection, attention, or simply catering to their needs, you are seen as nothing more than a tool to fulfill their sense of self-worth. But here's where the real danger lies. Narcissists are never satisfied with just any form of supply. It's never enough to simply be adored or praised. They need more. Their craving for validation is only part of the equation. Alongside this need for constant affirmation, they have an insatiable desire for control, admiration, and above all, power. What truly drives them is the ability to dominate those around them, bending people to their will. The narcissist seeks to manipulate and dominate others, not just to maintain their fragile sense of self-esteem, but to reinforce their belief that they are irreplaceable, that they are in control of every aspect of their environment. For them, your worth isn't defined by who you are as a person, but by how well you serve their desires and how much you make them feel powerful. To make themselves feel secure, they need to know that you feel small, insignificant, and that your existence is inextricably linked to them and their needs. This power dynamic is the core of the narcissist's control. They feed off of your attention and admiration, constantly drawing from you to build their fragile ego. The more you give, the more they will demand, draining your energy, emotions, and self-worth. As you pour yourself into them, they continue to take, leaving you exhausted and emotionally depleted. And the more you comply, the more they will expect from you. The vicious cycle becomes harder and harder to escape, because the narcissist will never be satisfied. They will never tell you that you've done enough, or that you've given them what they need. Instead, they'll just take more, always looking for the next source of validation, the next way to assert their dominance and control. But what happens when you stop being just a source of supply? What happens when you begin to see through the manipulations and recognize that you are more than just a piece in their game? What happens when they realize that you can't be controlled, that you are not at their mercy, and that you have your own sense of worth that doesn't rely on their approval? This is the turning point for the narcissist, because the moment they realize that their control over you is slipping, their world begins to unravel. The supply they'd been drawing from no longer fuels them in the same way. Their sense of security is threatened, and they may react with frustration, anger, or even desperate attempts to regain control over you. You've become more than they bargained for, and that's when the true chaos begins. The game they've been playing will no longer work, and they will be forced to confront the fact that they can't manipulate you in the same way anymore. The power struggle intensifies, and the narcissist will fight harder than ever to regain the upper hand, even if it means resorting to more extreme or irrational tactics. This is where everything starts to shift, and it's vital to understand the psychological impact this has not only on the narcissist, but also on you. The moment the narcissist realizes that you have your own life, your own passions, desires, values, and a sense of autonomy, they come to a startling conclusion. They can't control you the way they once did. This realization hits them hard, like a powerful blow to their inflated ego and the fragile, carefully crafted world they spent so much time building around themselves. Their whole existence has been tied to manipulating others and maintaining power over them. So when that control slips, it feels like their entire foundation is crumbling. For narcissists, the concept of self-worth is often tenuous at best. They can't rely on an internal sense of value because it's so easily threatened. Instead, they depend on the validation of others to feel important, to feel like they matter. Their entire identity is woven together by the admiration, attention, and control they seek from those around them. So when someone, especially someone close to them, steps outside of the role they've been assigned, the role of being a mere extension of the narcissist's desires and needs, it's deeply unsettling for them. It's a direct challenge to their worldview and their fragile sense of self. When you start asserting your independence and show that you have your own life, free from their influence, it brings up a wave of fear, insecurity, and confusion for them. They're not accustomed to being reminded that their power isn't absolute, and this realization shakes them to their very core. It forces them to face the uncomfortable truth that they can't control everything, and certainly not you. This moment can be incredibly triggering for the narcissist. They might experience panic in the face of this revelation. How dare you resist their control? How dare you break free from their grasp and assert your own will, independent of their needs and desires? To the narcissist, this is a direct challenge to their authority, and it's something they simply cannot tolerate. Their whole sense of being, their whole existence, is threatened when you show them that you have the power to choose your own path, separate from them. They might respond in a variety of ways, but rest assured, none of them will be constructive or healthy. They could react with anger, feeling enraged that you've dared to defy them. They may turn to manipulation tactics they've used in the past, attempting to lure you back into submission. Gaslighting could come into play, where they try to convince you that your perception of reality is flawed, or they may even create unnecessary drama to provoke an emotional reaction from you. The narcissist's sense of invincibility, which they've relied on to maintain control, is now deeply shaken, and they won't simply let it go without putting up a fight. They will do whatever it takes to regain their dominance, even if it means resorting to tactics that seem irrational or extreme. Their response can be unpredictable, and it's important to understand that this panic, this desperation, is a sign of their weakness, not their strength. In truth, their so-called power was never as secure as it appeared. This is a turning point where they're confronted with the reality that they cannot manipulate you in the same way anymore, and they're left scrambling to regain control, whatever the cost. Once the narcissist realizes they're no longer dealing with someone who can be easily manipulated, their entire sense of control starts to unravel, and they face a crisis of their own. This is a moment when their deeply ingrained fears and insecurities come rushing to the surface, things they've tried so hard to keep hidden. They can no longer count on the constant flow of admiration and attention from you or anyone else, and the sense of power they once thought they had over you slips through their fingers like sand. This loss of control is disorienting for them, as they have built their entire identity around being in charge, being the one who calls the shots and receives all the validation. During this time of crisis, the narcissist may react in ways that can seem extreme, erratic, and even dangerous. You may witness them lash out in anger, escalate their manipulative tactics to new heights, or even try to create chaos within their environment to claw back some sense of power. They might attempt to discredit you, spread lies about you, or smear your reputation in an attempt to regain control of the narrative. At the same time, they could try to stir up drama with other people, involving them in their distorted version of events, to ensure that their carefully curated image remains intact, despite all evidence to the contrary. However, underneath all of these actions lies a profound and overwhelming fear. A fear that they are losing their grip on control, that they are no longer the powerful, omnipotent figure they once believed themselves to be. Their entire facade, which they've spent so much time crafting, is starting to crack. What's important to note is that the more the narcissist fights to maintain their power, the more they unintentionally reveal their true self. In the face of losing control, they often expose their deepest qualities: selfishness, entitlement, and a willingness to manipulate others for their own gain. These traits, which they usually work so hard to keep hidden, begin to show through their actions. The more they struggle to preserve their power, the more visible these flaws become. This means that people around them, including those they've tried to manipulate, might start seeing through the carefully constructed image the narcissist has worked so hard to maintain. The cracks in their mask will start to widen, and the reality of who they truly are becomes harder to deny. The narcissist's inability to accept that you are no longer just a supply for them is a direct result of their overwhelming need for control and constant validation. Their entire worldview is built on the belief that they are the center of attention, that everything in the world revolves around them, and that the people around them are merely there to meet their needs. This worldview has been their guiding principle for so long that it feels like an unshakable truth. But when they are confronted with the fact that you are no longer playing the role they have assigned to you, that you are not merely a tool for their gratification, they are forced to face an uncomfortable truth, the truth that they may not be as powerful as they thought they were. This realization isn't just an emotional blow, it's an existential crisis. They are forced to grapple with the notion that they don't control everything, and that their sense of self-worth and security is not as unassailable as they believed. For the narcissist, this realization can feel like the very foundation of their identity is being ripped apart. Everything they have built, every belief they've held about themselves, is now in question. Their entire sense of self is bound to their ability to control and manipulate others, and when that control slips away, they have to confront the deep insecurity they work so tirelessly to suppress. If they can no longer control you, what does that say about them? Who are they if they can't maintain their facade of invincibility? Will their true self be exposed for all to see? These are the questions that begin to haunt them as they realize their grip on power is slipping. The moment the narcissist discovers that you are more than just a supply to be used for their needs is a critical turning point, not only for them, but also for you. It marks your strength, your independence, and your ability to assert your own identity, separate from their manipulation. For the narcissist, it is a profound crisis that forces them to confront the reality of their own weakness and limitations. It challenges their whole worldview and forces them to face their deepest fears about their own inadequacy. While this shift may bring challenges for you, it is important to keep in mind that this moment represents your opportunity to reclaim your power. It's a time when you realize that you are not simply an object for someone else's use. You are your own person with your own value and autonomy. When the narcissist finally comes to terms with this reality, it isn't just a setback for them. It's a wake-up call, and it's also a huge step for you toward breaking free from their control and stepping into the life you truly deserve. This realization doesn't come without difficulty, and there may still be struggles ahead. But what you've achieved in this moment, standing firm in your autonomy, reclaiming your personal power, and rejecting the role of a mere supply, is monumental. It sets the stage for you to move forward and build a life where you are not defined by someone else's need for control, validation, or manipulation. You are not a tool to be used by anyone, and the narcissist's discovery of this truth is a pivotal moment of growth and empowerment for you. Thank you for taking the time to dive deeper into this complex dynamic. If you found these insights helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps others find the strength and clarity they need to navigate difficult relationships and reclaim their own sense of power. Stay strong, stay empowered, and remember, your value is beyond measure. You are worthy of a life free from manipulation and filled with the authenticity and joy that comes from knowing your worth. It hits them at their core. When the narcissist discovers you were more than just a supply. Have you ever felt like you were being used and discarded by someone, only to realize that your value wasn't fully